Literacy is a word that is typically used in an academic context, but that's not all the meaning it holds. If we define literacies as methods of reading sets of symbols, we can say that each person has multiple literacies, and that the sets of things people are literate in help shape how those people see and react to the world. Since each person's reactions to the symbols in their life are shaped by understanding, we can say that there are different levels of literacy. A kindergarten student, an 8th grade student, and a college professor who teaches writing have very different levels of understanding concerning the literacy of proper English. Likewise, the average American, a Little League baseball player, and a Yankees pitcher have different levels of understanding concerning the literacy of baseball. I'm going to be talking about role-playing literacy and the value it has for us as a society. Continuing with the baseball metaphor, the average American knows that baseball is a ball sport, that baseball is not a contact sport, and that baseball has some complex rules as well as some simple ones. They know the concept of a home run, that baseball is associated with strength and agility, and would recognize a player's uniform. A Little League player knows these things, and also knows about a drop third strike and an infield fly. A Major League player, in addition to knowing all the things that a Little Leaguer and an average person knows, can analyze a pitch before it leaves the pitcher's hand, knows where every player on the field will or should be at all times, and knows nearly every rule by heart. By the same token, someone who merely knows about role-playing knows that players pretend to be a character, that role-playing is not dangerous, and that rulebooks and dice are often involved. A casual role player knows most of the rules of a game or two, the core mechanics of several games, his way around the core rulebooks, and maybe which game system is best for the type of game he or she wants to be a part of: adventuring, mass combat, spy games, urban fantasy. Finally, an experienced role player would be familiar with a host of games, know a few games' rules by heart, and understand methods of exploiting those rules. The difference here, then, is basic understanding. The typical person's level of role-playing game literacy is very low. Because of misinformation and lack of understanding, people involved in role-playing typically avoid mentioning their hobby to others, avoiding the outcast tag that is associated with role-playing. Discouraging someone from talking about one of their primary hobbies is very near to discouraging them from having relationships altogether. If the community at large knew more about role-playing, developing the level of literacy that the average American has about baseball, for example, positive changes in role players' lives would result, and others might benefit from knowing them as role players and as people. Okay, so what is role-playing? How do you role-play, Andrew?
It's a system of gaming with a distinct set of rules where you create a character under the rules, and then you act as though you're that character while you're playing the game.
What kind of activity is role-playing?
Social. Honestly, the best analogy would be it's like poker.
Well, if you were to tell someone outside of your group, how do you think they would react? You said it's stigmatized.
Honestly, for someone outside of my social circles, I'd expect a kind of okay then reaction.
No. Would you say that role-playing encourages people to be antisocial?
I'd say the opposite. The groups you find a lot of role-playing games in tend to be known for having some loners or some misfits that wouldn't otherwise be engaging in a social activity.
To be clear, this increase in role-playing literacy would not make extroverts out of introverts. Neither are all or even most role players shut-ins. However, allowing role players to talk about something they love without facing ridicule or misunderstanding would make it easier for extroverts to be role players, and for introverted role players to have less trouble when they do interact with people. By incorporating role-playing as a literacy, at least on a basic level, we would understand it better. As a result, we would add a harmless, fun, thinking game to the list of acceptable things to take part in.